It's my pleasure to be hosting another Humber and North Yorkshire Leap webinar. During the webinar today, Michelle will provide you with further information and some handy tips on how to use the ARC placement allocation software, Placement Environment Profiles, otherwise known as the PEP. So for now, I'll hand over to you, Michelle.
Right. Morning, everybody. My name's Michelle Clifford and I am from the University of Hull. So this morning I'm going to be taking you through PEP. So not sure if everybody's aware, but we have ARC, which is the placement system that we use for allocating students. And as part of that, we have extensions added onto that, which is POW, TMS and PEP. Now, POW is the student side, so that's where students log on and they can see where the placements are, contact details, and where they access their timesheets. The other side to that is PEP, so the Practice Environment Profile, and that's where placement providers can log on to and they can see all the students that are allocated to their areas. So if somebody within a placement area needs access to PEP, they need to let us know so that we can put your names on the system and give you access. And what we need from that is we need a work email address, and that's all we need, and the work area that you're attached to. So I'm just going to share my screen. So hopefully everybody can see that. Can you see that, George?
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, good. Right. So first of all, to access PEP, so we have a web page specifically for practice partners. I have put the link in the chat, so you can use that to just log on to. And if you scroll down here, you will see that we have the PEP login and we have our PEP user guides. Please use this as a place to go to every time, especially for user guides, because any update that we do to them, this is where we post them. So if you download them, you'll have an old, you might have an old user guide. So please try use this when you're logging in and when you're referring back to any guides. So if you click on the PEP login, it will take you to this screen. So if you are first time user, what you'll have to do is you'll have to click here and set up a password. If you're not, you can just put your work email address in and the password that you've created and click log on. This will take you to this screen. So on here, if you've got access to just one work area, you will only see your work area. If you're like a PLF or part of a university or something like that, you get access to all work areas. So the first thing that you need to do is, if you've only got one work area, it'll only be here. So I'm just going to go into, so you put your practice area in. So for me, obviously, I'm going to use a test host, and this brings up all the areas below. This status here is to do with your practice area. So it's whether you want to see the active, if you want to see any deactive or archived or all. The default is active, and that's the one that we would suggest that you use. So you select the work area that you want to look at. And this is all kind of driven by dates. So I'm going to use the 1st of April to the 31st of October. So you put in your dates. You've got display all students and you've got display only active students. So depending on what you want, you need to tick the correct box and then click show students. So you can see now that on my test host one, between the dates of the 1st of April and the 31st of the 10th, I've got 4 students allocated to me. And you'll see here, it gives you the name of the student. Here where it says test intake, that is where the actual branch, so it'll say like adult nursing or child nursing. And it gives their their description, so like community, critical care, those type of things, whatever sort of category that they're going to be doing. And then it tells you the dates from and the date to, student email address, their allocated hours and worked hours. Now, if you want to see any more details regarding the student, if you click on the plus button there, it will open out. Now, in the actual live, when you're using live students, the DBS will be completed, so you'll have a date in there. And any students that have an occupational health need, it will say in there that they need a risk assessment. So it will show you there straight away. What I do need to make you aware of is that this is an overview, and you'll see in a minute what I mean, is that it tells you all of these students and the dates you've got them to and from. To get the detail of when the student is actually with you, we suggest that you actually run the reports, which I'm going to go through in a minute, because and I'll show you why. So I'm just going to go through a few of the other the buttons up the top. So we have the hosts, which will take you back to that first screen, so you can use that at any time to go back. If you need to change your password at all, you click on the change password, and that'll take you to just that screen where you can update your password. The help button, if you click on that while you're using the system as well, it takes you, there's a link there to our placements web page, and there's also our placements email address. You can open that up while you're in PEP and go to the guides, so you can read the guides while you're actually using the system. So I'll just go back to this. So on this as well, I'll just go back to the host page. There's been a new part added, and it's the student name one. So if you wanted to search for a student by name, you can put that in there. That will bring up all the areas that that student's attached to. When you click onto that area, so for example, I'll just show you. So if I was to search for Eileen Dover, it will show you all the areas that she's attached to, and you can click on them. Now, if you click on them and no information comes up, you need to adjust your the dates, because that's showing students between those dates. Now, obviously, Eileen's in that. So if you don't get her there, you need to expand your dates. It could be that there was on it a year previously, but it will show you that student and the area that they're attached to. So that's the basics of the sort of first logging on, the initial just seeing what students you've got. The next part of that is actually running reports. So I'll go through the reports. The contacts section here is the contacts for that host. So if ever you can check on there, if any of them are ever wrong, if you can please let us know and we can get them updated. And these buttons you can just, again, flick between them. So we've got our students there. If we click on reports, we've got different options. So the first option here is run report for selected PEP. So that'll return all the data relating to the host area that you've selected. If you only have one host area, it'll just run it for that anyway. The second one is a run report for all users' PEPs. So if you have access to multiple users like we do at the university, that will run a report for everyone that we have on our system. And the final one is run report for all PEPs in current search. So if you're within a trust, so like you're a PLF and you have access to multiple host areas, that'll return the data for all those areas in with the selected criteria that you've used. So most of you, if you're just interested in the host for your area, would run the first one. So we have 5 reports. we have the host weekly capacity with students. So this report, and this is where you'll see on that front screen when we have the students. So you can see all the dates of the students here to and from. So I just want to point this one out to you. So Barry has got a placement from the 4th of September to the 22nd of the 10th. So if I run a host weekly capacity report, all of these, a lot of these are done by date range. So what you have to do is you have to go through each criteria. So I'm just going to use the same as what I've done before, the 1st of April to the 31st of the 10th. Include deactive students. I don't know why you'd want to include, if you're looking back at a date, if students have left and you're looking back, you would probably use that. Forecasted students is a no. And then here, you can select the individual branch. So you can select adult and put that across. Or I tend to use this button, which just selects them all, because it'll only bring up all the people that are in that area anyway. And then click OK. So this is the host capacity report. So you'll see all the weeks across the top. You'll see the host area, and then you're probably quite familiar with these reports. And then an X in the box of when that student is with you. So the one I wanted to point out to you obviously was Barry. So he had a placement from the 4th of September to the 22nd of October. But as you can see here, he's got 2 blank weeks. So that student has actually got something else going on that week. So he's maybe in theory or annual leave or something like that. So that's why we say to you, please run the capacity reports, because this will actually pinpoint the exact weeks that the students are with you. If you just take it from the front screen of the students, you wouldn't be able to see from that actually Barry is only with you for those 6 weeks and has a break in between. So please make sure that you're running the capacity reports to see the exact weeks that the students are with you. So that's the host capacity report. I was just going to say, if anybody's got any questions, if you can pop it in the chat or save it till the end, and then we'll address all those together, if that's okay. So the other report, occupational health, that again is just either select the branch that you want and the intake that you want, or just click the double buttons to get them all across. Now what this does, this will just highlight anybody that needs an occupational health report, but you can also get that information from your front screen when you click on the plus. If you remember in that top bit, it said occupational health and it told you, but this report does the same and it can run it for all the students rather than just viewing them individually. So this one takes just a little bit longer to come through. So if you just bear with me on this one. It's just so that I can show you how the actual reports come out on the system. So that's what you'll see. So if anybody has got an occupational health report, it will state in here that student has an occupational health report and that a risk assessment may need to be done. And obviously the student names, intakes and everything is on there, and the university number. The student details report. Again, these all have criteria and generally are built around timescales. So for this, you can either select an individual student. So you can use this box here. If you're not sure about the spelling of the student or the student's full name, you can use it. It's a wildcard. So if you put a star after, so you get rid of that star first, and you type in part of the name. So if you was to type in MIL, MIL, with a star next to it, that would return any student that started with those initials. So Miller, Milner, Millet, that would bring all those up. If you don't want those, you can just select all. It's not right, does it? Apologies. Try that one again. It's because I took the star out. So the star basically says everybody. So what that gives you, it gives you the trust that they're at, their intake, their name, their telephone number, and their student email address. And it will also have on their personal supervisor details there of who you can contact within the university. Okay, so the student placements detail report, that brings out quite a lot of information. I'll run it, but the problem with this one is that it squishes it up on the screen. But this is a useful one. And it's not playing ball. So this one can give you quite a lot of detail. Student name, student email. It gives you the host that they're at, and this will split it down. So if you've got a student that's got a couple of placements within, so if anybody does like the tariff reporting, if you do it between a certain time and the student has more than one placement, it will list both the students for each placement. So it'll have the first placement date there, the second placement date there. It shows you how many hours they've worked. So that's when the students have obviously filled in their TMS timesheets and it's been authorised and it's flown back into ARC. That then shows you how many hours they've worked against that allocation and the cohort and year. So with all these reports, this is just obviously of how to use them. What I suggest is that obviously when you get access to the system is that you have a play. You use the guides that are available and you have a play and see what information you get. If there's anything that you feel that you need extra, you can always let us know and we can try get reports written for that. Or if there's any issues with any of the reports, please contact us. And then the final one is students' timesheets. So on this one, you can view the student timesheets that have been filled in for your work area. So you have the option of all timesheets without days and timesheets with days. You can run all timesheets or you can just do the not approved timesheets. And then again, you can select the area. I would just suggest using the double arrow. If you want it specifically for one student, you can just put their names in there. So I will just run a report just so you can see. So this is all timesheets without days. So for Eileen, you can see they're all done weekly. Hours worked, any made up hours, any absence hours, who the authoriser was and the status. And that shows you that you can just flick through them. If I go back, you can run one with days. So this will show you the difference. So you can now see that those weeks are now broken down into the individual days and what time in and time out, all the details that you would need from those timesheets. Now, with all of these reports, to extract them, you would click on this button up here, export the report. And then you have the option to export them as a PDF or as an Excel spreadsheet, whichever you prefer. Your options here, and then you just click export. And then obviously, depending on your system, how you save it will be at your end. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for the minute, just because it's a bit disorientating that I can't see anybody. And then we'll take questions if that's okay.
Thanks, Michelle. I'll just enable cameras and things right now. Hopefully that should work. Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, please do ask away. I know from this webinar was originally created through the evaluations of the ARC implementation for some guides of how to get some bits and reports done. So if you have any questions, do either put in the chat or put your hand up.
Oh, that's good. No questions. What I will say is that it is a very, very straightforward system.
I've got a question, Michelle.
yeah.
Sorry.
Sally's hand up.
It's Sally. Hello.
Go on, hello.
Hi. Hello. No, it's just that, as you know, I've got a new program coming on for next year, but the placements are going to, although they're going to be allocated to a trust and to the sort of radiology department within that trust, the actual placements are going to be organised by the staff within the trust. Now, I'm presuming that can get added in.
Yes.
It's just, I probably need to have a chat with you who does what and how that's managed, but I'm presuming the timesheets and things can still work. And
yes, absolutely, the timesheets and the student facing is a separate one anyway,
right? Okay,
that's driven by their allocations on ARC. For PEP, as long as we know who needs access to it, so if there's an overarching person that needs access to all work areas, or if somebody specifically in a work area needs access to the PEP so they can go on and see the students, as long as we know the details, their email address, we can add them to the system. They can then get access to PEP.
Brilliant.
And we do use PEP as our place of truth. Now, if so when we release allocations and it goes into PEP, if there's any changes that happen, the work area, they should receive an email to say that there's been a change to go on and check PEP. And that's what we always suggest, is that you go on there and check. That's kind of the point of truth, really. If you see any issues with anything you see on there, please let us know straight away.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much.
Michelle, there's a couple of questions in the chat from somebody, Exemplar. Is there a different system to use for completing student portfolios? And they have a student allocated for the first time this September. Is there any training about portfolios?
Right, I think portfolios is a different system to this. I believe that will be in Canvas. Sally, is that right?
We use PebblePad. Thanks, mate. It's again, I'm not sure which, if it's on the adult nursing or one of those, then it's a APAD or PebblePad, and there will be training provided, and that is separate from this system. But I can put you in touch with the right people.
Yeah. Great stuff. Thank you.
Michael in the chat has put it's great that they can use search students via their names, and just says thank you. It's been very informative. I
think, Michael, that was an upgrade that we had done specifically for people like yourself who have multiple work areas. Because obviously, if you only have one, it's a lot easier just to see the students you've got. If you've got more than one work area, just bear in mind, like I said, with that searching for students, it'll put the student name in, it'll bring up the work areas, but if you have to make sure that the date range is wide enough for that student for when they could have been on that placement. So because obviously it'll span their whole of their 3 years. if they're like a third year student. But yeah, have a play, definitely have a play with the system. Like I say, it's quite straightforward. It kind of does what it says on the tin, so which is great for a system. There's nothing there that's kind of unexpected. Go through the guides. If there's anything that you're not sure about, please feel free to contact us, and more than willing to have one-to-ones with people if that's what's needed. We want this system to absolutely work for everybody. So please let us know. So obviously I put in the chat earlier on the link to the placements, the Practice Partners webpage. So that's where you access all the guides and the link itself. So yeah, have a play and let us know. Anybody got any further questions?
Yeah, we've got a hand up from Darren.
Yeah. Darren?
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm like for having my microphone in the wrong place, I have to ask. Just mentioning, the I'll just get the correct name of the report. The Students Placement Excel one.
I knew you were going to say that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just noticed because yesterday I was having a look to see if there was any incoming students, and it didn't actually pull any data whatsoever. And I've just run it again today using the same date range, and it has pulled out 11 students or so.
So if it's for incoming students for years 2 and 3?
Probably.
Yeah. As they're released, they'll be there. So it depends on what areas. You can always send me a message, Darren.
So it's just a sort of coincidence that it's...
Sometimes the system, if you put too big a date range in,
right,
it sometimes can have a little bit of a blip.
Yeah.
It shouldn't do, but it can. So it's sometimes you might need to just reduce the date range and see if you get any data. If you're not getting any data on a reduced date range, then the report's not working.
Right.
So,
okay.
yeah, you can let us know.
I've got. I mean, it's not related to you, but I've got a similar issue with another university. Their equivalent report. It's also not pulling out any future placement data, and I've been trying to find out about that as well. You see, so
yeah, because obviously it'll depend on when it's released.
right.
So if you're going too far in the future to look at placements and they haven't been released, you won't see them. So it will only be live on your system when it's released on our system. So if we do, so say like there's a placement in April next year and we don't release it while January, you won't see that information until it's released. So you need to bear that in mind.
These students were coming out really soon though.
Right. Well,
later this month.
Right, there should be information there. Can you send me the details so I can have a look?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Sorry, I realise it's probably a bit out of scope of the meeting.
It's fine. No, that's fine.
All right, I'll send you an email later. That's fine. Thank you.
Yes, Joanne, I do believe that when the allocations are released, that there's an email comes out to say that they're live on the system. Is this the platform?
Hi, Michelle. We're not getting them then in that case.
Right, okay, I'll check that one.
Because, Darren checked the system yesterday and picked up these students. We weren't aware they were coming prior to him doing that. And we're concerned that the ward areas are obviously missing that as well.
If there are any issues with ARC, if you do send them as soon as you find them to the HEIs that are using ARC, they'll get back to ARC, who are usually quite quick at responding with these issues. So yeah, do pass those issues across ASAP.
Sorry, George, who to ARC themselves?
To the HEIs, yeah. If you've got
to us, Joanne,
Yeah.
Or the other,
Or
York,
I don't think it's just
it's
not just Hull.
Yeah.
So okay, thank you.
So could I ask, is this the platform and the Pepper Pod that is required for students? So this is actually a separate platform. This is part of our placement allocation system, which we use for looking at the students that are coming to you and the students you can get the reports, the OK Health reports, weekly passive reports from that. PebblePad is a different system within the university.
Is there any more questions? If not, I'll just repeat what I put in the chat a bit earlier. The webinar will get uploaded to the ICB YouTube channel and onto our LEAP, Humber and North Yorkshire LEAP Future NHS platform. So you can share the links to any colleagues that want to go through this who haven't had time to get onto this webinar today. And just a big thank you for your attendance, and a massive thank you to Michelle. Hopefully you've all found it useful, and please do share with your teams. I know it was a big point that was coming up in the evaluations that further training was required. If you do have any issues as we go or any questions, please do get in touch with either Michelle or myself.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you, everyone.